I'm literally shaking. Hi, my name's Laura. Welcome to my Laura the Explorer channel. On this channel, I really try to encourage all of you to get out of your comfort zones, get out of your house, get out of your country, and travel, experience new things, learn new things. But right now, that's not really possible. I've never shared this story before because it is something really scary that happened to me and the friends that I was traveling with. And it's something that I think could discourage a lot of people from traveling and from just getting out of your comfort zone. But right now is the perfect time to share it because you can't leave home anyway. So I'm gonna share this story, and then once the borders reopen and it's safe to travel again, please forget all about this video and go get out of your comfort zone and enjoy yourself and see this world and learn new things. I don't know where to begin. Okay, so let's just get right into it. To set the stage, when I was 21, I moved to Denmark, which was the first time that I had left North America. I literally moved to Denmark for 6 months, knowing absolutely no one. Although I was really terrified, I stepped on the plane knowing this is the best thing that you've ever done, and I knew that I needed to make the absolute most of it. So I ended up doing a lot of travel around Europe throughout that 6 months. So this story happens end of March, early April, when I'd been living in Denmark for 3 months. I had just started doing a lot of traveling. My family came and visited for a week, and we traveled England, Scotland, and around Denmark with them. I did a bunch of traveling around Denmark with friends. And I had just taken my first ever solo trip to Switzerland. It was our kind of March, April break from university. So after my solo trip to Switzerland, I was meeting 3 of my girlfriends that I had met on exchange in Denmark in Milan, and we were gonna travel Italy together. So we traveled Milan, Rome, and then Florence was the last city before our trip home. All that to say, I was feeling confident. I was feeling kind of top of the world, like I was conquering my biggest fears of traveling alone, staying in hostels, all of these things that I grew up thinking were really scary things to do. And I guess my comfort zone was really growing, which is an amazing thing. And I think all of the 3 friends that I was on this trip with were kind of feeling the same thing. We all were just having the most amazing experience in Europe and feeling really confident about traveling as women and, you know, being in Europe, this really safe space. The 3 of us are in Florence. It's me, I'm Canadian, another Canadian girl, an American girl, and our friend from the Netherlands. So there's 4 of us. We had seen Milan, we'd seen Rome. It was turning out to become the most amazing trips I have ever been on. And then we get to Florence. So we were staying in an Airbnb. We check in to this Airbnb. It's a woman who spoke Italian and didn't speak good English, but was kind of explaining the house to us. It was her and her husband that would run it if we needed anything to message them. And she was telling us that she had a daughter around our age who was also traveling right now. She was kind of awkward and just gave us a weird vibe, but we assumed it was a cultural thing, a language thing. So we settle into our Airbnb. One thing to note is that whenever you're traveling in a lot of different cities in Europe, there's like a tourist fee that you pay to your hotel or your Airbnb host or your hostel, and it's usually like $2 per person per night. And they just need to take a picture of your passport or of ID and collect that tax, and then it's collected as like a tourism tax. So we had just done all this traveling and stayed in multiple different places, and they had kept, you know, taking pictures of our passports, taking our $2 or €2. And this lady didn't do that. So we were like, oh, cool, we all saved a couple euros. That's great, but it is important to note that. So we stayed the first night in the Airbnb. To explain kind of the way that the Airbnb was laid out, it was like 3 rooms. We were on the top floor of an apartment building, and there was no other apartments on that floor. So you go up the stairs, there's like a really sketchy elevator, or you can go up the stairs to this top floor and there's just our door, and then you go in, there's like a little entrance. There's a living room area which had a pull-out couch, which 2 of us would be staying in, and a TV, a dresser. There's another master bedroom, and then there's the kitchen area. So, and then a bathroom. So there's like a main hallway, and from the kitchen you can kind of see into the living room, you can see into the master bedroom. So we stayed the first night at the Airbnb and got up really early the next morning. We only had 1 full day and like 2 half days in Florence to see the whole city. So we got up and planned to spend the entire day out exploring the city. And as we're all getting ready to leave, our doorbell rings, which we didn't know that we had a doorbell. It kind of just sounded like a phone ringing. And so we answer this like doorbell phone they had in the apartment, and no one's there. So we're like, okay, that's weird. Didn't think anything of it. Pack up our stuff and we're ready to leave for the day. But we go to lock the door, and the door is one that you have to lock from the inside. So again, that was just kind of a weird thing that we were like double checking that we had locked the door properly, because we locked it from the inside and left. So we're like pulling on the door, trying to open the door. Okay, it's locked, good to go. So we go and enjoy a beautiful day in Florence. So we get back to the Airbnb that evening, walk up all the stairs to the top floor, and our door is open, like wide open, not like a crack open, like the door's wide open. And all of us immediately are really freaked out. So we're like, should we go in? Like, do you think somebody's in there? And it was kind of like, you know, it's no big deal. Let's just look through the apartment, make sure nothing's been taken. We probably just didn't close the door properly. And then we're all kind of talking about it like, no, remember that weird lock? Like the door was definitely closed, but maybe the hosts were in here to check on things. Like, let's just make sure that none of our stuff is taken. So a couple of our passports are like sitting out places. We can see everything. All of our electronics are there. Nothing has gone missing. So when we saw that all our stuff was there, we had a lot more confidence. We checked the balconies. We checked, you know, kind of hiding places really around this tiny apartment, because we thought somebody might be in there. And when nobody was there and all of our stuff was there, we're like, okay, fine, let's get on with our night. So we start cooking, and as we're cooking, we hear footsteps outside of our door. Like somebody had just come up the stairs or was going down the stairs or something. And again, we're kind of freaked out because we're already freaked out that our door was open. And we all kind of like stay quiet, and we can hear like more than one person like walking outside of our stairs. And we're expecting somebody to knock on the door or something, because again, there's no other apartments on our level that would give somebody a reason to be there. So again, the footsteps kind of left, and we're like, okay, we're just freaked out, guys. Let's just enjoy our night. So we start cooking. Our plan for the evening was to cook dinner, rest up, and then go out again. In Florence, they have this really cool like night culture thing where the bakeries who cook overnight so they can have fresh bread the next morning, I guess give like free stuff to people if you just show up at their bakery at like 1 a.m. And so we planned on doing that, like resting and then going out to have a late night of like bakery hopping around Florence in the middle of the night. So one of our friends, as we're cooking dinner, lays down to have a nap, and she was staying in the living room, which had the pull-out couch. So she gets changed, lays down, and then realizes that there's something stuck to the TV. And so she gets up and is like, guys, there's something on the TV. I'm literally shaking. So she gets up and she's like, guys, there's something on the TV. Like, what is that? And we all like look into it, and from what we could tell, it looked like a webcam that was taped to the TV with like what's the brown tape? Like masking tape? Scotch tape? Masking tape? So it's not like it was hidden. It was really obvious with this brown tape on the black TV that it had been taped there. And it definitely wasn't there the day before. Like, we watched TV and we would have noticed if there was something stuck to the TV screen. So we all kind of look at it and all of us just stop. And it was like, okay, if that's a webcam, we don't know if somebody's watching us right now or if it's recording and somebody will watch this later. And as we're having this conversation, our lights turn off in the apartment and like flicker. The electricity in the whole apartment flickers. And immediately all of us are like, okay, is this a joke? Like, this feels like a horror movie. And talking about it now, I feel like it sounds like a story that I'm making up because it's all just so theatrical that the lights are now flickering now that we're all freaked out. But no, this is 100% true, unfortunately. So that freaked us out to the point where we're like, not okay anymore. So all of us lock ourselves in the bathroom and we all turn off our Wi-Fi so that we're not connected to the Wi-Fi of the apartment anymore, and share our locations with our family at home. My dad was sitting with my entire extended family at our family Easter because this all happened over Easter. So I text him like, hey, I'm gonna share my location with you. Don't tell the rest of the family. I don't wanna freak anybody out, but I'm pretty sure that there's a webcam in our Airbnb and I think somebody's watching us. So, so the four of us are in the bathroom, freaking out. I don't think any of us were crying at that point, but we were definitely all just like, the adrenaline and our hearts are beating. Like, I feel that way right now, actually. So we're in the bathroom. All of us have just really high adrenaline. We're freaking out, but we're all staying calm enough to make decisions. Nobody was crying or sobbing or, you know, anything irrational. We were all kind of just trying to, I think we were all just trying to rationalize it. Like, this must be a joke. This must be a prank. This must be some prank show. You know, let's get the Americans and scare them. They think they can travel around Europe all confidently. Like, joke's on you. There was no way that this was real, and there was no way that we were getting to this like worst case scenario in our heads, but we all just decided that we needed to get out of there. So we didn't have another plan of where to go. We just knew we need to get out of here. We need to get somewhere public. So again, all of our locations are like shared with our families around the world, and we pack our things as quickly as possible. I think the amount of time between finding the webcam, deciding that we're gonna leave in the bathroom, packing up all of our stuff, and then actually getting out of the building was probably like a 2-minute process. We acted fast. There was a wine bottle, like an unopened wine bottle sitting on the table, and I was like, I'm taking this as a weapon. And I felt safer like walking around with this wine bottle. So we got out of the apartment. We like ran down all of the stairs, ran away from the building, and probably like 1 or 2 blocks away from the apartment was a tram stop. So we all like waited for the tram, got on the tram, and it was just like silence. It felt like we're all sitting on this like public transport looking around like terrified. Like, is someone following us? Is someone watching us? Is someone on this tram that wants to cause us danger? It was really scary. And once we were out of the apartment, I think we did start thinking about what the worst case scenario was. And it was like, do we go to the police? Is this, maybe it's not even a webcam. Maybe there's literally nothing. Maybe the lights just flickered at the wrong time and we heard footsteps at the wrong time and the door was just left open, whatever. So we took the tram to the last stop, which was like a really public, busy train station where in Italy they have like armed police officers with like giant guns with like machetes on the end of the guns. And we, for some reason, that made us feel safe just like being in that space. So once we were in the train station, we were able to like talk to our families and kind of figure out what our next step was, because it was now getting late into the evening and we didn't have a place to stay and we didn't plan on sleeping in this train station. So the advice that I got from my dad was look through all of your stuff, make sure that there isn't like a tracking device in it. And he was saying it in, you know, in a way of there's no way, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So we all looked through our bags, we didn't find anything unusual. And we found a hotel that was open, and we walked to this hotel and go into the front lobby. We're all, again, I think like ghost-faced, terrified, and this guy could tell. He's like, I don't have any rooms for you, but I can tell you really need a space, so there's this hotel, like, I think they can do the same pricing that we do, like, I'm gonna call them and make sure that they get you guys in a room. So we got into a hotel, we drank the wine, and we just kind of decided, let's not think about this for the rest of the night. Let's talk about something else so that we can sleep. And let's deal with this in the morning, whatever there is to deal with. So I was sharing a room with my friend from the Netherlands who, like, her first language is Dutch. And I remember she started talking in her sleep in English, which is like, I don't know, just this really interesting concept that my Dutch-speaking friend, who obviously spoke fluent English, but I would think she wouldn't like dream or sleep talk in English. You would think you would do that in your first language, but I think we were just so freaked out and our minds were like not working the way that they're supposed to. So we wake up the next morning and decide that the logical next thing to do is to message our host, our Airbnb host. We didn't want to do that the night of because we still didn't feel like safe or maybe like far enough away from them. But we just sent a message and was like, hey, we got home yesterday and the apartment door was open and there was what looked like to be a webcam taped to the TV that wasn't there before. Like, we're not accusing you of anything, but you should probably look into this in case somebody like broke into your apartment and was trying to, you know, do something. Heaven forbid we discuss like what actually someone would have been trying to do. And also in the message to her, we said like, you know, we were preparing for dinner at the time, so there's probably food out. Like, we left kind of a mess because we were really freaked out. Like, sorry about that. Because again, we didn't know any facts at all. We weren't trying to blame the host for anything, but we also needed like some sort of a response. And the response from the host was, I guess, one of the scariest parts. She responds like, why did you leave? You shouldn't have left. How dare you? In caps. And again, we're like, okay, this doesn't seem like a language barrier. This doesn't seem like a cultural difference. Like, this is really sketchy. So we report it to Airbnb as like a legal activity, I think. There's not, whenever you're reporting a host to Airbnb, there's not that many options. It's like the apartment didn't look the way that it looked in the pictures, or like a legal activity. Like, there's not that many options. So we just said illegal activity and wrote this really long report. All four of us like separately sent in reports to Airbnb, and we never heard anything back from Airbnb at all. And months later, I looked up that same apartment that we had stayed in, and it was still up on Airbnb. It was still a place where people could stay. So I'm not afraid of calling this place out. If you're going to Florence, don't stay in an Airbnb that's called Beau's Artsy House or something like that. There's a lot of art on the walls, and I think it was Beau was the host name. So there you go, don't stay there. Yeah, it was really disappointing and kind of scary that Airbnb didn't do anything about it, because you wonder like how many cases like this there are that go ignored. I guess we never really got our closure or answers from what actually happened during that situation. We looked into filing a police report, but again, we had like half a day in Florence after this had all happened, and then we were like leaving the country. So filing a police report with the Italian police, like, it's a big deal. It would have been a really hard thing to do with none of us speaking Italian. And I don't know, we didn't know how serious they would really take us, because again, like, who knows what that really was. So I guess we never got closure to that, and therefore this video doesn't have a great conclusion. But that was the scariest travel experience that ever happened to me. And that's what I did 3 Easters ago today. So again, you can use this as an excuse to stay at home, because scary things can happen when you travel. But whenever COVID ends, just forget that I told you this story and get out there and do it. I, since that experience, have traveled to probably 15 other countries and stayed in countless more Airbnbs. Maybe because I'm stupid, or maybe because I just think that you can't live your life in fear. Bad things happen to innocent people all the time, and fortunately this didn't become a case of that. This was just a scare, and that's all it was, and hopefully that's all it was ever meant to be. If you've had a crazy travel story, I'd love to hear about it. If you've had a similar experience with Airbnb, I'd love to hear about it. I don't know why they don't take these things like super seriously. It's a really serious thing to happen. I have actually seen stories on the news of webcams that were found in hotels or Airbnbs. So I think on the news they try to make it look like companies like Airbnb do take it seriously, but in my experience, they did absolutely nothing. We literally didn't get a response at all. And that place is still available to rent. So that was my experience. Let me know if you've had any opposite experience. I hope that nothing like this ever happens to you. But again, just don't let it stop you from traveling. You can't live life in fear. Thank you for listening to me rant and listening to this story of mine. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it cured you of a little bit of your wanderlust, but only temporarily. And I will see you in the next one. Ciao!